All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Elevate Your Impact and Empower Your Journey Leadership Lift Off workshop. That beautiful song y'all just heard is Tiffany Sharice. She's actually on the call with us today. So definitely go download that. I just did it while I was listening to it. But I'm so excited for you all to be here today. And I'm excited to host this wonderful facilitator who is really just going to give an awesome presentation today. So I'm going to go ahead without further ado and get us on our way. So tonight, I'm going to introduce our speaker. You will learn a lot. She will cover all that, of course. These are the 8 different areas that she will talk about. At any time during the workshop, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and I'll make sure that Jamie gets them and that she answers them. At any time you want to engage, please use green hearts. That's the theme of Path to Peace is green. So at any time, just drop green hearts in the chat so that we know you're engaged, you're listening. If something she says is really powerful, go ahead and drop those green hearts. If you haven't already, please put your name and where you are from in the chat. And if you have any questions, once again, just drop them in the chat and I will make sure that Jamie gets them. Or if it's something that I can answer, I will answer for you. So without further ado, our speaker, Jamie Jones, the culture curator. She is the founder of Path to Peace Life Coaching. She holds certifications in life coaching, relationship coaching. Her mission is to be a beacon of inspiration for those embarking on their personal growth journeys. Jamie's corporate background spans over a decade in HR consulting. Her expertise lies in the profound healing of relationships and guiding individuals through transformative breakthroughs. So please help me welcome by dropping your green hearts in the chat, your speaker, Jamie Jones.
Awesome. Thank you, Jasmine.
You're welcome.
Okay, good evening, people. Good evening. Thank you so much for spending some time with me tonight and investing in your leadership, investing in your communication. We got 20 people here, might even get a few more to load in. So I think we're going to have an amazing night. I'm so excited about what's about to happen. I feel really good about the next step. So I promise not to make this a boring event. We're going to have us some fun. We're going to do some giveaways. We'll talk about some special offers, but most importantly, I want you to leave feeling motivated and inspired to shift in your leadership, shift in your communication. So this workshop is for aspiring leaders. It's for business owners, executives, or anyone that's just looking forward to leading in their own lives in a more profound way. And a lot of my life's work goes and sort of dives directly into communication. So before we actually get into all of the topics, I really want to talk about something specifically in regards to my career journey and how I sort of changed and shifted as a leader. So naturally, I've always been gifted with building relationships and attracting people in a very natural way and inspiring them. However, with that very special skill, I still wasn't a really great leader. I wasn't a great manager at that time. So I had the ability to build the relationships, but I was just a good manager. I wasn't a great manager at the time. And I'm going to give you all just a little bit of backstory on me. So in my corporate career, I worked in HR consulting and we assisted a ton of different clients. I'm talking about Fortune 500 clients, mid-level clients, lower level and lower market clients, the whole span of the business and corporate industry. And as a manager, I was working on a Fortune 500 big ticket client. And then I got the tap on my shoulder that said, Jamie, we need you to go to these 2 mid-market clients. And historically, these client teams were not successful with their client relationship. Attendance was low, client engagement was down, morale was down within the staff. And I'm just like, oh my God, like how in the world am I gonna go over here and turn this team around? And this group, they had been through maybe about 5 different managers in 2 years. So you can only imagine the mindset of the staff that I was going to work with. So one thing about changing and shifting in leadership is first understanding your business. So leading through results is what I'm going to talk about really briefly before we get into the meat and potatoes of our agenda tonight. So leading through results, first you have to understand your industry. You have to do a deep dive and deep analysis on what's driving your business, what's driving your business to be successful, and what's hindering you from the financial success that your business needs in order to thrive. And that's exactly what I did. I did a deep dive on the analytics of the team, the analytics of the staff, and it was a lot of work that needed to be done. You guys, I can't even speak to how much work was involved. But there was maybe about, let's just say it was about 10 things that needed to be corrected. You can't come into a team and throw all 10 things at them at one time. That's just, it's not going to work out that way because people are not going to be able to absorb that much information in a short amount of time. So of that list of 10, I took the top 2 things that was impacting the team the most. And that's where we focused in on our coaching. But again, as a leader, you have to understand your industry. You can't coach anyone on anything if you don't already know the business yourself. So leading through results requires you to do a data dive, understand what you're working on before you can influence or coach anyone. So if you guys are ready to get into this, I'm not going to be like any other leader you've talked to before. I'm not straight laced. I'm a little unorthodox in my approach, and I can be a little animated at times. So if you guys can latch on to my personality and ride with me through this course, we're going to have a whole lot of fun today. So let's go ahead and get to it. All right, so we're going to start out with a quick testimonial. So you'll see testimonials throughout this workshop because I just don't want to come and tell you how impactful I have been with some of my clients or even in some of the spaces in corporate world. I want you all to have some perspective of other people's experiences with me. So I'm going to first start out with Amy. Now, Amy was on that team that I was just talking about. She had been through 5 different managers in 2 years, and the morale, I'm telling you guys, the morale was so low. I didn't even think that I was going to be able to turn that group around, but we did it in less than 90 days. So Amy stated, working with Jamie Jones has been a great experience for me on all levels. Jamie was my direct manager from 2017 to 2022. She is a great leader, and she would be successful working for any organization. In my opinion, as a manager, her level of performance was exceptional. Jamie has the ability to coach and empower all employees, including myself. She would make any instructions easy to understand at all levels. She would listen patiently to all of my concerns and requests, and she would provide me with timely feedback in a way that I would see myself grow consistently. Jamie made me enjoy my job every day. With her support and coaching, I was more confident in my job. I was able to bring out the best. She was able to bring out the best in me by making conscientious by making me conscientious of my strengths and opportunities. Jamie has gained nothing but respect from all of employees, particularly myself, for her devotion, her ability to drive results with the way she values people around her. So the results is what matters. The results is what will make you a great leader. It doesn't matter how good you are with people and building relationships. Leaders drive through results. And we're going to talk a lot about that. All right, y'all. Okay, so if you know me well, you know I'm affirming myself on a daily basis. Whether I'm posting something on my social media page or I'm just affirming myself in my own space. It's a constant, it's consistent in my life. And when I hear myself saying nice things about me, my self-worth, and my value, I feel like I'm able to execute at a different level. So if you don't have affirmations in your life, I recommend for you to try this because it's great for your confidence. So the affirmation and the theme of tonight, when we go into this mindset shift, the coaching, the conflict resolution, and the performance management, under my guidance, my team is continuously learning, and prospering. And that is the affirmation for tonight. So if that feels good, y'all, let's go ahead and get into it. All right. So let's talk a little bit about worst case scenario here. So worst case scenario is what happens when you don't have a successful leader within your organization, or if you're a business owner, if you're not embodying leadership characteristics, worst case scenario can actually happen within your company. So worst case scenario, when you think about it, 62% of people leave their jobs because of lack of culture. So that's 62%. That's a really high percentage. So if you don't have a positive culture within your workplace or lack thereof, you can expect people to be leaving. The next hot topic is low salaries. So we can all sort of we can relate to that one. Everything is so expensive right now. You go to the grocery store, you go and get gas, everything is so expensive. So for employers, it's important for you to have a competitive salary. Competitive salaries really matter in the workplace. Now, this third one is one that I used to see all the time in corporate space. You want to make sure that you're hiring managers and leaders that actually care about people, not necessarily caring about, how much money they're earning and what it's going to do for them on a material in a material space, or they need that role because it's going to make them feel better about themselves. Hire managers and leaders that care about people, because 56% of people leave their jobs because of poor leadership. I can attest to that. I've left a job because of poor leadership and poor management. All right, next up is work-life balance. We all have had a different experience post-pandemic, and we value time a lot more than we actually value money. At least I can be the first person to say that. Yes, I need funding to maintain a stable life, but I value time more than anything else, because time is something I can't get back, and the pandemic really showed us that. And lastly, lack of advancement opportunities. So if you don't have a developmental program, a program in place to help your people climb that ladder, no matter what industry you're in, whether you're in the corporate industry, whether you're in the service industry, you could be a hairstylist and you own a salon. If you don't have something in place for people to advance, 37% of people are leaving their jobs because of lack of advancement opportunities. And this study, guys, came from Forbes. So when I was doing a lot of the research for this workshop, I found this to be extremely interesting. So for those of you that's on the phone, I commend you for showing up, because you're empowering yourself to learn more about leadership and show up differently as a leader. Because the last thing you want to go through is negative attrition. High turnover rates, that means you got to hire more people. That's more money for you. More background checks, that's more money. Drug screens, that's more money. And then you have to invest in a trainer to train all of these new people for the high turnover rates. Remember, lack of culture, low salaries, poor management, work-life balance, and lack of opportunities, people will leave their jobs. And I just want to say something. As I'm going through this material, guys, I hope that you're absorbing some of the information, because some of these things will come back a little bit later when we get into the Q&A portion. So just remember some of the things that you're seeing here, some of the things that I talk about here tonight. Okay, Jazz. All right, so we're going to run through 2 more testimonials, and then we're going to sort of get into the meat and potatoes of our workshop. So Lisa T, she was my former manager in that corporate space, and she stated here, as a former leader, I can testify that Jamie developed magnificent skills in handling conflict resolution, improving broken promises, and developing her staff. She mastered these skills, which helped her improve results and metrics for multiple challenging teams. Call her a fixer, call her a soldier, but to me, she is a gem. And in probably about a 3-year window, I had 6 client teams, because each and every time after we changed, made took a team that wasn't quite meeting expectations, and we were able to change and shift that into a positive direction. Next thing you know, I'm going to another team, and boy, oh boy, did I hate that, because I'm thinking, I'm working so hard. Like every time I get stable, now you're going to give me another team. And I didn't understand it at that time, but I'm so happy that I had that experience. I see gratitude for that experience because it also helped shape me to be a better leader today, because I had to establish a lot of versatility. All right. So Courtney H states, I had the pleasure of meeting Jamie as a brand new employee. The energy, vibes, positivity, and encouragement, and her light was displayed, and her light that was displayed were all things I will never forget. She was my trainer coming into the company. I am grateful for how welcoming she was and how professional she carried herself. She was very knowledgeable and was determined to provide all the tools to ensure everyone was successful. So, again, business owners and executives, when you're thinking about hiring a trainer or facilitator, remember that this person is the face of your company before they really meet anyone else. Yes, they're going to go through the talent and the acquisition phase, but your trainer is the person that's going to be the face of your culture. Make sure that you're hiring people that embody the skills to be able to lead, teach, and encourage brand new employees. And Courtney was a new hire at that time. And since then, she's been able to climb the ranks in the corporate space. And she's probably been promoted more than 3 or 4 times. So it matters who's there with you at the beginning, because if I was a bad trainer, she could have took out, she could have left, gave us the peace sign, and before training was even over. So it matters who you're hiring. Set people up to be successful. All right, how y'all feeling out there? I've been doing a lot of talking. How things going? I'm looking in the chat real quick. Okay, a lot of messages. I see the love. I received the love, and I thank you all for spending time tonight again, spending time with me, sort of talk through this Leadership Liftoff program, and also taking time to invest in yourself and just increasing your learning as we go. So I'll be reading a little bit here from the slides. You guys feel free to drop questions as we go. When we leave these informational slides, I'll then go ahead and take any questions. So if you drop any questions in the chat, Jasmine should be able to get those. If you feel compelled to come off and mute and actually speak, feel free to do that as well. Again, this is a community. I want to make this fun. I want to make this enjoyable. And again, I appreciate y'all time tonight. So let's get into this leadership mindset shift. The leadership mindset shift is a part of one of the workshops that I do as a leadership and relationship coach in business. And a lot of these workshops are done in a roundtable coaching style. And there's so many layers, but tonight we're just going to focus on these three here. And that's going to be empathy and communication, continuous learning, and personal development matters. Always remembering that it's your fault, and to remove that toxic ego. So I'm going to read through these, but I'm going to also give you guys a little real life experience as we sort of unpack this. All right, so empathy and communication. Shifting mindsets often involves a greater focus on understanding others' perspectives and effective communication. Leaders need strong communication skills and empathy to inspire and motivate their teams, build relationships, and foster a positive work environment. As a leader, it's one of your absolute strongest skills and that is communication and being able to show empathy and give grace to people. We have to remember that people are not going to always do things the right way. They may make a mistake. They may say something that's not quite right. We have to be able to be empathetic in those places, even when they're having a down day. We want to be able to show and express empathy as we would want someone to do that for us. All right, so we're going to talk continuous learning and personal development. Right, this quality is essential in leadership and entrepreneurship. Where staying updated with industry trends and evolving strategies is crucial. And lastly, it's your fault. Remove the toxic ego traits. One pivotal element in transformation of leadership mindset involves the deliberate elimination of toxic ego attributes. Recognizing that personal success is no longer solely tied to individual achievements, but is instead a collective performance of the team is essential. Leaders must initially grasp the concept that the ultimate accountability rests within them. So as we sort of talk about, what we have here that's on the screen, I want to get just a little bit personal as it relates to these areas and how, again, I went from being a good manager to a really exceptional manager. So the empathy and the communication, that was the part that sort of came to me naturally. The other two areas is where I needed to do a lot of work. So I'm going to first start with my ego. So when I think about my ego at the time in that corporate space, I was much younger at the time as well. So I was first promoted maybe about 3 years into 2 or 3 years within my entry level role, right? And I felt like I was going into this management role. I just knew everything I needed to know because I was really exceptional as an individual contributor. I was really good in that space. So coming into management, I thought I had it all figured out. Nobody's going to be able to tell me nothing. I'm going to hit the ground running and I'm going to take off. I'm going to run to the top. Guess what happened 9 months later? I was demoted. And I was demoted to a facilitator and trainer for the team at that time. So I want to specifically talk about ego and how ego can really take you from having a bad day to a day that's actually even worse. I had a scenario in the corporate space when it came to ego. Again, remember, I told you guys I thought I knew everything, but I actually didn't. So I had a situation where I made a mistake with my team. I didn't necessarily make a mistake that they were able to see, but I made a mistake where my manager was able to see. And at the time, I didn't feel that her communication was quite as respectful as I would have required at that time. And again, so my ego, so I already think I was handling the situation right, but then you come and tell me that I wasn't doing it right, but then you have a little stank on it. You got a little attitude with it. So here's the breakdown. I had an associate, she was going through some personal situations, and her mother became extremely ill. And she needed some time off from work, but she was a new hire. And we didn't have a program that was in place to allow new hires to take so much time off at the beginning of their career. But I felt like I was doing the right thing because of what she was going through personally. And I allowed her to take some additional time off without actually going through the process of the attendance program. And my manager actually found out that I was doing that. And when she came to talk to me, there was a lot of things that she was saying at that time that I was making the wrong decisions. I didn't have the mindset to be a good leader. It was just a lot. And instead of me taking that on the chin, because I was out of line, I kind of lashed out. And I made the situation much worse than what it needed to be. And it caused our working relationship to be very rocky after that. In fact, her and I had to do a lot of work to build from coming back from that situation. But when I learned in that moment is, Jamie, yes, you might actually be doing the right thing, but it wasn't necessarily the right thing in business. So I made a decision that was right, that I thought was a moral decision, but it wasn't a good business decision. And I really didn't want to hear that I made a mistake, and it caused a lot of rift in our relationship. That was one of the areas where I had to start to check my ego to understand, even when I'm right, if again, I felt like I was doing the right thing, I was completely wrong for stepping outside of the structure of what the attendance program looked like. So remembering to check your ego, you don't always have the right answers. You have to be open to communication, because in turn, as a leader, now I have to go back and give feedback to my team. And what if I don't say it just quite the right way? Do I want someone to jump down my throat, or do I want somebody to speak to me in a way that I can understand? Simply just saying, hey, the way you're speaking to me in this tone, I'm not really able to understand. Is there a way that we can possibly revisit the conversation late? Just being a little bit more empathetic. That matters. Around that time, being that our relationship was it was challenged, I felt like I needed to execute in different ways. So as we talk about continuous learning and personal development, you have to sort of go outside of what you consider to be normal. You can't always expect for your employer to give you every little piece of information you're going to need in order to execute in your role. So at that time, again, I'm very early in my TM journey. Um, and I back up just a bit. So I told you guys that I was promoted about 2 years after my entry level role. I was demoted to facilitator, and I trained in that facilitator space for about 3 years, maybe about 3.5 years. And then I got a second shot at management. So in the second shot at management, I still had a lot to learn, although I had gained valuable insights from being a trainer for so many years. But again, there was still a lot of things that I had to work on for myself. And I started reading books. One of the books that I read was Phil Jackson's Sacred Hoops. And that book was really good for me. I'm a basketball person. I'm a sports person. I'll try not to use too many references here tonight in case I lose anyone. But Sacred Hoops was about Phil Jackson's journey as a coach and how he brought in holistic approaches in conjunction with education centered around his industry at the time was basketball. And a part of my mindset shift was also bringing in holistic approaches to my leadership that involved meditation and sometimes breath work, different things that I would bring to huddles in order to capture people in a different way. Before we leave mindset shift, I also want to talk about what's extremely important. Before you can even go into coaching, which we're going to go do in the next slide, you have to know your people. You have to build relationships. And an easy way to build relationships, if you're not naturally comfortable or gifted in that space, I love to do an anonymous survey where I ask people about my leadership style. I ask them about the culture of the company they work for. I give a full breakdown of different questions to get their mindset of what they think about their company and their company's culture. I also like to do a behavioral analysis test as well, because one key thing, people may not always actually tell you what they're thinking directly to your face. They might not do that. It depends on the comfort level. But if you can initiate a behavioral test, you can get really specific information. As long as they're being transparent and answering those questions accurately, you get an understanding of how their mind works. And it's going to be important for you to understand your people when we actually go into coaching. So I know I just gave y'all a lot on that mindset shift. I'm going to check the chat, see if we have any questions out there. Any
You have
questions?
two questions.
Oh, okay. Let's go, Jazz.
Okay, so Jay House asks, could you explain the feeling or moment you felt when you identified your purpose and decided to start your own business to help others?
Ooh, that's a good question. That's a really good question, House. So I'll say here, finding finding my gift was the first step. So in the corporate space, I always enjoyed coaching. I always enjoyed seeing how I could help nurture someone's career, and see them reach an accomplishment and knowing that I was actually a part of their success. So understanding my gift in that space was pivotal in me understanding my actual purpose. I like to think if my purpose was always kind of ingrained in me, even though I didn't always accept it. I've always had something special about influencing others, but I didn't always use that in the best way. I would use it in a way that always benefited me. Um, but a part of that gift is actually using it in a way not to control people, but to influence people in a very positive way. One of the key things that was pivotal in me leaving my corporate journey and deciding to go into entrepreneurship is God made it really tough for me. I think he made it tougher and tougher for me. So I initially decided to leave my corporate job in 2022. I looked at I had all of the data, I had all of the information, I knew exactly what my budget was going to look like. I can do this. But I chickened out and I got scared. I had sent my resignation, but I got a call from my manager and he called me and I say, listen, I just can't take this anymore. It's becoming too stressful. It's hard for me to come to work. He said, Jay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to throw some more money at you and we're going to move you to a different client. It's going to be a better situation. And I took that route. I took the route of the new client and I took the route of the increased salary. And that year was the toughest year that I had ever experienced in my 12 years working for that company. It was the most challenging experience that I probably have ever had in my life. And I felt like in that moment, taking this more to a spiritual place, I felt like God was making it difficult for me to stay there. And as long as I was not following in his plan, then it was going to get tougher and tougher. So I just said, enough is enough. I'm going to start this business. I'm going to focus on things that make me happy. I'm going to live in my purpose and I'm going to help people along the way. I'm going to do it the right way. And that's sort of how I landed here. So hopefully that helps answer the question, House. And thank you. Thank you for asking that.
Do we have time for two more questions?
Absolutely. It's 7:30. Yeah. And I'm going to
Okay.
pick it up too.
Okay.
Okay.
Phyllis Anna said, could you provide some tips for building relationships as an introvert?
Mm, that's really good, Phyllis, because when you're not naturally when you're naturally introverted, building relationships can be a little tougher. And I like to categorize myself as an introvert, except for when it comes to work. Then a little portion of my personality and my extrovert sort of jumps out. But I would say start out small. Start out small. You don't um, have to change yourself. So you be authentic, you be transparent, even with your team. Hey guys, listen, I'm naturally introverted. I'm a little bit more quiet at times. That doesn't mean that I'm unapproachable. It doesn't mean you can't ask me questions. Just understand that I'm a bit more introverted. The more that you're transparent with your team about who you are, even as an introvert, that's going to make it easier for them to connect to you because now they have a sense and they understand you just a little bit more. So, Phyllis, I hope that helps.
Okay, and Tiffany Cherie said that you mentioned needing to know about the topic you're planning on being a coach for. What are suggestions for learning more about the topic you're coaching on?
Read that one more time for me, Jazz.
So you mentioned needing to know the topic, I guess like niche that you want to go in as being a coach.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
what are suggestions for learning more about the topic you want to choose?
Okay, understood. So niching down wasn't easy for me, Tiffany. In fact, when I first started Path to Peace, I just focused on personal development altogether. So I was helping people start LLCs. I was helping people with time management. It was the entire gambit of things, you know, helping people with their work life balance. It was a lot. I think for me, niching down was about my passion. So I like to think that I have two niches. One niche, of course, is leadership training and relationship coaching in the workplace. I pretty much, you know, built my career off of leadership training. So that one was very easy. It comes to me very naturally. It doesn't even require a lot of work. So that's one key area. Whatever requires you to have the least amount of effort and the highest amount of impact, trust me, that is your niche. And of course, I have a second niche in relationships within couples and the interpersonal relationship, the relationship with self. That was a part of my personal journey that sort of led me into relationship coaching for couples. So, Tiffany, I hope that helps answer the question. And of course, too, I think you mentioned something about education. So once I figured out what my niche was, of course, I did additional education from there. I worked on my certifications, but most importantly, my life experiences, which allows me to thrive in this space as a life coach. Okay, Jazz. All right, so we're gonna pick it up, y'all, because really, I want to make sure I'm not keeping you past 8:30. And for those of you that know me well, know that I have the gift of gab, and I'll talk all night, but I'm not gonna let that happen. So let's go ahead and get into coaching, y'all. We're gonna talk about being intentional with your relationships, celebrating the big and the small wins, and coaching versatility. This is key in coaching. So let's go ahead and start with the relationships. To effectively coach and influence your team, the foundational steps begins with cultivating strong relationships, build trust and open communication. As a leader, navigating challenges becomes more manageable when rooted in professional and trusted relationships with your team members. This is key. No one is going to trust you if you're not showing up as your authentic self. I've seen managers do this time and time again, especially when I started to mentor new managers. And when you, it's something about inauthenticity is something that'll turn me off real quick because I don't know who I'm dealing with. And when you're building these professional relationships or relationships in general, transparency and vulnerability is key. I'm always the first person to say, anytime I come to a team, I don't know everything. You know your business better than I do. I'm not here to tell you how to run your business. I'm here to help shape your culture and increase your leadership skills. Celebrating the big and the small wins, y'all. Effective coaching goes beyond solely pinpointing missed opportunities or errors. It encompasses a holistic approach where a team doesn't feel anxious when you're involved. Balanced coaching creates an environment that is easier for the team to embrace. We've probably all had this experience at some point in our lives. Anytime a manager or a coach comes around and you want to go in the opposite direction, this is someone who is always looking at the cup half empty. That cup is never full when it comes to them. Every time you see them, they're telling you something isn't going right. They're not celebrating when you do something good. They only come around when they're talking about something that you didn't do right. Remember, coaching isn't just about coaching improvement areas, it's also about celebrating the wins. And that's even the smallest of wins. And celebrating it on a consistent basis, that takes your coaching to the next level. Because now, when I come around to give you some informative feedback to help you get better, now that's easier for you to digest. Your anxiety is lowered when you see me because you know that I'm coming from a trusted place because we've already built a great relationship. And now you also see that I'm able to celebrate you when you're doing something good, just as well as I'm going to pull your coattail when something isn't going quite right. Boom, bang, pow. Coaching versatility. Your role demands meeting your team at their current level. I'm gonna read that again for the people in the back. Your role demands meeting your team at their current level. Your ability to coach hinges on understanding your team, how they absorb information, whether that's auditory, visual, tactile, or written. Recognize that there's no singular learning method as a coach. You must adapt and put effort to cater to diverse learning styles, and this matters. At one point, I had a team of over 33 people. Trust and believe they didn't all learn and absorb information the same way. But as you build a relationship, as you talk to your people, you get to understand them a little bit better. When you're paying attention and when you're observing your team, you're able to understand where you have to meet them. I had an associate once. She she never wanted to attend any type of huddles because she was always annoyed with the huddle style coaching. So a lot of times after a huddle, I know that most of what I said went in one ear and out the other. I always had to go back and follow up with her. But even as a coach, that means so I go through a phenomenal presentation. I give you all of the game that you need. I still need to follow up in some type of written form. I need to follow up, send some notes of key points from that conversation because you're only going to remember about 20% of what I said. But if I'm able to follow up in an email, now you have something to reference. Coaching matters at all different levels and understand that people's personalities differ. That means you have to be a chameleon as a leader and as a coach. You have to be able to adapt in each and every environment. All right. Any questions on coaching, Jazz?
Yes. One question from KD. He said, you mentioned trust in, or she, I'm sorry, I don't know. I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah,
But you
yeah,
mentioned
it's
trust
okay.
in coaching. What would you suggest for a leader that lacks trust in a direct report?
Mm. So, if a leader lacks trust in a direct report, I would say first we have to understand where the root cause of that trust is coming from. Is that trust rooted in you've provided information and they're unable to execute, or they tell you they're going to show up for you and the team in a certain way and they let you down each and every time? When you lose trust, and I have actually lost trust in associates, when you lose trust and you find that your coaching is not actually improving the results of the individual's performance or behavior, at that time, as a coach, I might need to take further measures and go into more of a performance management role. But when you think about that trust, you have to first understand where the root cause of that trust is being broken down and use that as leverage to rebuild. That could even be having some real clear, transparent conversations. Hey, there's something not working in this relationship between you and I. I want you to get better. I want you to excel. You need to help me help you. Tell me where I'm going wrong as your leader. How am I not inspiring you? What do you need in your role to be more successful? So I would say, Katie, that is leveraged in communication and transparency. But if the coaching doesn't work, I'm just not going to coach as a leader. I also have to be able to turn that corner and go into performance management. And we're going to talk about that on one of the last slides of this workshop. Any others, Jazz?
Nope, that was it.
All right. Speaking of Katie, here is her testimonial. Jamie is a proven leader. I've witnessed her transform low performing teams to top performers. She was often brought in for where financial risks were at stake. Due to her proven ability to produce results, Jamie is able to inspire change. She can captivate even the most disengaged colleagues. She understands the difference between managing and leading, which makes her an invaluable resource for businesses aspiring new levels of colleague engagement and performance. Katie and I started together when we talked about that entry level space. We were actually teammates and we sat shoulder to shoulder every day for a number of years. Katie, thank you for that testimonial. So that was important too, guys. I want you guys to know that I didn't just make this stuff up. I received these testimonials, from quite a few people, and I thank you guys for joining tonight. All right. The next testimonial comes from Tina D. Tina says, Jamie, you've always been amazing and valuable to me. You embraced me as a developing and new team manager. You became a constant support and positive resource for me in the corporate space. You are genuine, partnering, and you led by example. I couldn't have asked for a better TM mentor. You are amazing. These are the things that matter. When you show up authentically and you genuinely care about someone's growth, they can actually feel it. I didn't have to say, Tina, I care about you. She was able to feel that through my energy and how I supported her growth. In fact, I remember when Tina went from that interim TM role into being actually promoted to TM, her and I was on a Zoom call crying that day because I knew how much work she had put in. And I was really happy and proud of her in that moment. So shout out to you, Tina. Okay, Jazz, let's get to it. I think we got 3 minutes. Okay, we got us a giveaway, y'all. So giveaway today, I'm going to be giving away 2 copies of, 2 copies of my book. I don't know if you can see it too well, but the book is titled Unlocking Prosperity, 7 Essential Strategies for Thriving Business Relationships. It's a quick read. You can get through it in less than 2 hours. And we're going to give away 2 of those tonight, back to back. So I'm going to go in. I'm going to ask this question. Jasmine is going to be on the 1s and 2s in the chat. Whoever responds first is going to get that book. So Jasmine, I'll reach out to you in chat directly to get your email address so that you and I can correspond to get your mailing information so we can get you out this book next week. All right, so let's get into our giveaway. A. Okay.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it
Okay.
to it.
All right.
Uh-uh.
Oh, that goes too
Oh,
far. Yeah,
no.
sorry.
Okay, yeah, we're good right here. Okay, knowledge check, y'all. According to Forbes, they suggest that 62% of people quit their jobs due to. You guys remember why did 62% of people leave their job? 62%. Who's first, Jazz? Ooh, it's a lot of responses in
Nicole
there.
Jackson looks like the
Nicole
winner to
Jackson.
me. Well, I don't know because
Okay.
Renee said poor management. Could that count as
No, poor
listening?
management was 56%.
Oh,
But
okay.
thank you, Renee. You were close. At least you was looking at that slide. All right. So Nicole Jackson, I'll reach out to you. We'll get your mailing information, but you got a book coming your way, Unlocking Prosperity. All right. Let's do question number 2. All right. As a leader of people, it's no longer about your individual results. Your performance is based upon the 2 word right here. So as a leader, it's no longer about you as an individual. It's based upon what? Yeah. Yep. Who was first, guys? Ooh. Okay, I think Renee got it this time. Yeah, it's results driven. So it's based upon your team results. So your results as a leader, and Renee. Okay, so we'll get your email address and I'll correspond with you to make sure that you get your book Unlocking Prosperity. When you guys read this book, feel free to drop a comment on any of my social media pages and let me know if the book had any positive impact on you. Oh, and there's a lot of people responded. I see Tina, Tiffany, Trey, Cicely. Okay, good deal. All right, good job, y'all. So thanks for paying attention. And we're gonna keep this thing rocking because I want to get through this material. All right. So handling conflict. Trust and believe there's no way you can avoid conflict in the workplace, no matter what your industry is. You can have conflict with another leader. You can have conflict with your manager. You can have conflict with one of your direct reports. You can have conflict with a client or a customer. Conflict is on the way anytime you're dealing with people. But I'm going to give y'all some game tonight on how you handle that conflict when it will arise. So my philosophy is always take a deep breath. It's okay to separate yourself or any involved parties. Give everyone a moment to gather your thoughts, cool down, and return back for effective communication. That's key. Step away. And it's a very special way that you can do that without turning off or being disrespectful to the other person. But just let's say, right now I feel like our conversation isn't productive. Can we follow back up on this topic at X time? Because I want to be able to understand you and I would love for you to be able to understand me. Do it in a professional way. I didn't say grab your bag and run out or, close your laptop and leave and leave the meeting. Handle it in a effective and mature professional way. Another area is asking for help. Having an unbiased third party or coach in the room is highly effective. They can control the conversation, allow for even dialogue, and ensure effective listening and communication is necessary to resolve any concerns at hand. This is key. I used to have people sometimes come in and sit with me, especially as a newer manager. Sometimes I would need somebody there to be kind of a voice of reason. This is also something that I offer when I work with small businesses and corporations. I sit in to help mediate some of those conversations because it can get intense, but what's most important, what we can never forget is everybody wants the same goal. Sometimes just getting there looks differently, but it's important for us to listen and understand people as we go through the process. All right. Give grace and create a safe space. So recognize that as a leader, perfection isn't the expectation for yourself or your team. One more time for me as a Virgo. Sometimes I got to say this over and over. Recognize that as a leader, perfection isn't the expectation for yourself or your team. We all have moments of mishaps and emotional reactions due to various triggers. Embrace forgiveness unless there is a significant breach. Understand that. Provide people with the chance to learn and adapt, considering that someday you may require the same in return. If somebody responds um, in a not so professional way, as long as there wasn't a clear breach, try to figure it out with that person, understand where it's coming from. Um, because we never really know what people are experiencing, especially in their personal lives. And they could have a ton of different things that they're going through. And here you come asking a question or maybe giving feedback in a way that's not as productive for someone um, to be successful, and they might respond in a different way. So we have to use emotional intelligence and balance. And a lot of conflict resolution, in my opinion, is fostered in emotional intelligence, which really feeds off self-regulation. So how you control yourself in those situations is pivotal, and it is key when dealing with conflict. And conflict is going to happen. So just how you manage that matters. I didn't always do it the right way. I flubbed up a whole lot of conversations at times, and I had to go back and repair them, or I had to, in my next opportunity, it was up to me to make it right the next time around. And when I come in and coach on this topic, especially in workshops, group workshops, I love to do role plays. I like to put people in the most intense, unrealistic situations. Therefore, if I give you a level 10 in a workshop in a round table, and you deal with a level 7 out with your staff, or with a client or a customer, you can handle that with a little bit more ease, because I'm going to challenge the hell out of you when it comes to those workshops. And there's probably a few people that's on this call now that has been a part of some of my um, corporate and small business workshops. And we make it fun, but we make it realistic. And it's about challenging you so that you are prepared and able to handle conflict when that situation arises. So just remember that perfection is not the expectation for you or for your team. Um, you have to navigate through it. All right. Questions on conflict, Jazz?
No, I do not see any.
Okay. So we got 30 minutes, so we're doing pretty good. I think we're getting there. All right. Now, performance management, this is a lot here. And, it's hard for me to capture everything in this workshop. But again, I want you guys to leave inspired with some understanding of these processes that will make you a stronger leader, that will make you a more effective leader. So let's start with, you can't performance manage without coaching. I remember talking to a new manager once, and they told me, "Oh, I just love performance managing. Oh, I just love it. I'm really good at it." When I hear someone say that, that means to me that you really don't have a passion for coaching, because my goal as a leader and as a manager is to never performance manage, because that's a whole lot of work and it requires a lot of micromanaging, and we're going to break that down. So, number one, when we get into performance management, are your job descriptions easily understandable? If you haven't carved out exactly what that role entails and what that looks like, expect for someone not to know how to do their job. Avoid writing up or terminating someone without prior effective coaching. Doing so could potentially put you at risk or face state employment claims, right? So I worked for a company once, a small business company, and they stated that coaching was the culture, but actually it wasn't. Anytime someone made a mistake, they wanted to immediately terminate that person. And I heard the term so many times, at will state, that I don't never want to hear it again. Yes, you might live in a state where it's an at will state, which means you can separate. But if you want to avoid the unemployment claim or any type of wrongful termination, you have to show that you have taken a very intentional effort at coaching, documenting that coaching, and try to correct the performance. That is the right thing to do. And also, we want to understand that some people require coaching. Other people come in more intentional and they can, hit the ground running, but some other people need a little bit more guidance. So you want to make sure you, as a leader, or you're hiring leaders that have patience to help and coach someone. Okay, so let's talk about, unless there is a clear ethical breach or severe wrongdoing, it is crucial to prioritize coaching before any drastic actions. So if something unethical takes place that goes against the bylaws and the mission and the vision of your company, and I'll just say maybe like embezzlement or theft or something like that, that's different. Work with your HR team and move forward with a separation. But performance issues or behavioral issues, it's good to show some efforts in coaching. It's the right thing to do if you're trying to create that type of culture where you're not losing 62% of your staff because you lack culture. Let that part sink in. Stages of performance management. You want to raise awareness regarding performance concerns through an initial documented conversation. So if your coaching efforts, going back to Katie's question, if your coaching efforts isn't working and you've been coaching for 2 to 3 weeks, and you see that the performance is not improving, you might want to go ahead and level up your conversations. Make sure that you're taking a more directive approach with some type of documented conversation. So you want to speak to the person verbally, but then of course follow up with documentation. If all else fails after that second level of documentation, then you want to move forward to a third level. And when I say this documentation, guys, when you're having this coaching conversation, you're talking about the area that needs improvement. You want to give tips on how to improve the performance, and you want to put a timeline on when you're expecting that performance to be corrected so that you can avoid the second step. But if that doesn't work, move to your second step. And last but not least, if it's continuously not getting better, you as a leader, you don't want to lose money. You as a business owner, you don't want to lose money for underperforming colleagues. You want to move forward with a final warning or last chance agreement following this disciplinary process. Don't make the mistake of just sending an email to a team member. It goes back to building relationships. And I talk about this in my book as well. In emotional intelligence, I made the mistake once of, as new manager, just sending out a disciplinary action email and not having the conversation. Crash and burn. That was a tough hole I had to dig myself out of. So always give somebody the respect of looking them in their eyes, talking to them, and then following up via email. That goes a long way. People will respect you a lot better if you're able to look them in their eyes, talk about the areas that needs improvement, and then following up accordingly. All right. So timing is everything. Addressing performance issues often requires more time for noticeable changes, whereas behavioral issues can often be corrected almost immediately. I'm going to talk about that real quick. So I had an associate, complete rock star. She kicked butt, but she had a behavioral concern. She was always on her personal phone during work time, and that was sort of frowned upon. So she would use her earbuds or, find some strategic way to have a conversation. And I initially went to her like on that Monday when I saw her, like, hey, you're supposed to be on the phone. Again, it doesn't always have to be super formal. You can just pull somebody's coattail and let them know that they're out of line. So I told her about that on like a Monday. Here comes Thursday, you're back doing it again. I'm not wasting my time coaching this. This is something that requires coaching. I'm going to go ahead and have the conversation, and I'm going to document accordingly. I will give someone time when it's a performance issue, because that means I need to help you. I need to pour into you. I need to coach you. I need to train you. I need to give you resources. But behavioral issues, it's either you're going to do it or you're not. And me as a leader, I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time there. So it's crucial to discern between the two concerns, considering allowing about a 2 to 3 week phase for assessing and improving performance issues. Unless the situation is particularly severe, you know your business better than me, so you should be able to discern between the two. On the other hand, for behavioral issues, unlike professional communication, swift resolution is expected, as I prioritize and expect professionalism without granting much leeway in that time. And that's exactly what I just shared with you guys. Behavioral issues, we can change that. Performance issues, that might require me to help and support you in a different way. So I allow for a little bit more time in that space. And this translates to any type of business, you guys. So yes, my business was human resources consulting, but I've taken the same formula and used this with my small business and my other corporate clients. It works. It's proven. It's effective. Trust me. All right, Jazz, what we got?
Back a few questions. So,
Ooh,
Dana Day, and I apologize if I pronounce anyone's name wrong, but I believe it's Dana Davis asks, what do you do when you have a toxic client or employee you feel like you may not be the coach for them because they aren't receptive to your style, skills, or approaches? Is there truly an uncoachable client?
yes, there is. So, a part of that leadership mindset shift when I come in, and that's a great question, by the way. I give that behavioral test to all of the staff members. But in particularly, what I'm really looking for is for also the executives and business owners to participate in that exercise as well, because I get to understand a little bit of their mindset. And there has been situations where I've had clients that I had to leave because I felt like it was uncoachable. I want to be successful, which means if I don't believe that I can support you in being successful in that journey, then it's probably time for us to sort of end that relationship. So there has been more than one situation where someone wasn't maybe open or receptive to my voice, or maybe they felt like they had a better way of doing it. And if that's the case, it's probably best to separate those relationships, because the ultimate goal is for someone to be successful. Most people are coachable. I'll say maybe 20% of people I haven't had a lot of success with, but 80% of people I'm able to coach and turn them around. But others, that ego, especially for business owners, me coming in as a culture coach, you may just look at me as as an employee, and that's perfectly fine. It doesn't matter how you look at me, but you might not value me in a way that's going to allow you to be productive as well. And yes, sometimes I have to leave, but I don't make very quick decisions. I like to observe. I like to look for more than one reason for me to separate. And I had that scenario where it was about two things that happened, and then by the time the third time came around, I knew that we couldn't be successful in that partnership.
Okay, your next question comes from Siobhan H. And it says, Jamie, what do you enjoy most about what you do, and what is the reward for you?
Oh, that's a great question, Siobhan. Thank you. I mostly enjoy seeing people improve. I love when someone has a breakthrough from a mindset shift, and I see them acting out something that we talked through, or they're executing on an activity or a task that I've given them, and they're excelling in that space. I talked earlier about Tina. I was mentoring and coaching her as an interim manager, and her goal was to become a permanent team manager and really seal the deal on that promotion. And those are the things that really bring joy to my heart. A lot of my coaching, a lot of my joy from coaching comes through watching other people be successful, and just knowing that I had some part in that process for them. I was able to support them.
Our next question is from Nicole. To piggyback off Dana, how important, if at all, is it for a leader to be able to adapt or adjust to an individual's personality, learning style, if they aren't responsive to the leader's style?
Oh, it was very difficult. There's nothing about that is easy whatsoever. As a leader, that will challenge you in any scenario. I'll speak specifically from from a situation that I experienced, and this was a very strong personality type, and I mean strong. So earlier I talked about how I transitioned to a client team that was historically underperforming, and there was an associate on that team. Um, in some ways, they were very, they only saw through one lens. So no matter which approach that I took, I always try to be transparent. I try to be myself and show up authentically, but it just wasn't working. And in those situations, I had to ask a lot of questions. What do you need from me? Like, what are you expecting from your manager? If it is something that I can actually execute on, then I'm going to do that. But if you're asking me something that I'm unable to do, I'm also going to tell you that as well. There's no point for me to hear to show you a rainbow and I can't help you get to that pot of gold. I still have to be able to be authentic in those spaces. And let me look at your question a little bit more, Nicole, because I'm not sure if I'm getting down all the way down to it. Yeah, so adapting is a challenge, and learning styles, yeah, the learning styles are different. So for me, it's not something that's easy that you're able to do when you're adapting to different learning styles. But most importantly, Nicole, this comes from the building relationship portion and understanding them. So when they speak to you, you have to be quiet during those moments as a leader. So in a coaching conversation, I like to speak maybe about 40% of the time, but I need the other person to speak 60% of the time, because while they're speaking, I'm actually listening. And hopefully, while they're speaking, I'm able to take a nugget out of what they said, and I'm able to use that as leverage to coach them and build a relationship going forward. And it's not an overnight process. In fact, Nicole, that associate that I was just speaking of, she didn't actually value me as a manager until I left that team. And then she texted me back later and said, I was all wrong about your approach. You actually were trying to support and help me. So sometimes people won't give you your flowers in the moment when you're trying really hard, and that's okay. Just always be true to self, execute at your highest level, and just try to move forward from there. But you're not going to be able to capture everybody. But if you got 80% of your team, baby, you're going to win every time. I'm winning every time if I got 80% of my team. Okay. All right. Let's go, Jazz. Any other questions?
Last question is from Renee. Did you have a mentor?
Yes. Oh, I had tons of mentors, especially in that corporate space. The first time around when I became a manager, I definitely used to talk to the more tenured managers. We would do lunch sometime. I would want to know about, areas where they failed or where there was perceived failure. I would talk to them about my scenarios. They would help me through that. There were other peers of mine that I looked at as a mentor, able to give me a different perspective. A little further in my corporate career, I was mentored by the vice president of our company, and that really changed and helped shape a lot of my business mind, even right now. But even as an entrepreneur, mentorship is still extremely valued. I have a business coach. I meet with my business coach. They assist me. They help me with structure. So mentorship is something that I don't ever really see leaving my life, because again, I don't know everything and I want to learn from other people's experiences. And if somebody knows an easier path to walk, then I'm going to walk that path that they took. All right, Jazz.
All right, so
Oh,
Coach
we got
Jay
us another
does an
testimonial.
amazing job as our culture development strategist over at Omni Coffee and Eggs. During her tenureship, she was able to meet with our executive leads all the way down to our staff and had amazing programs built in for us to make us the number one place to work. That's how dedicated and true Jamie was. Not only did she provide the leadership programs, she also did the inclusion and diversity program that opened up so many doors to staff. So we are full of gratitude for all of the hard work, dedication that Jamie put into our programs, all the way down to our orientation at Omni University, where our staff had graduation. So very versatile in her work, and we are so appreciative of all of it. Thank you, Coach Jay.
All right. Thank you, Candace. That was another testimonial, you guys. So again, I want to be able to give you different perspectives of my coaching style and why building relationships matters so much. So we're down to the last 3 slides, and you guys are doing great. I'm really appreciative of your engagement, for your questions. I'm so grateful. So let's go ahead and close this thing out. All right. So when will I see growth? This is not an overnight solution. Understand that, right? You must be open to coaching and feedback. Give yourself time to perfect your coaching and leadership skills. Remember that slow motion is better than no motion. I got that one from my niece, Tiffany. Remember that slow motion is better than no motion. It's important that you give yourself time. When you're doing all of these changes that we just talked about, it's important to be transparent with your team at the beginning. Let them know, as a leader, I want to show up in a different way. So you're going to see different things changing and adjusting in our culture. Understand that I'm not going to put too much on you at one time, and I'm going to give you guys time to change and grow and adjust, and ask them to give you that same grace in return. So it's important that you're investing in your learning. That's step one. That's the most important step, and a part of some of the reason why you guys are here today, coming to get some of that free game from me. All right. Then you have to initiate your project. So project initiation, avoid making drastic changes, identify where your team could benefit the most. I mentioned that at the beginning. Once you do that analysis on your team and you have 10 things and they all look like 911, red alarm, house burning down, that's not the case. Look at those 10 things and determine what's most urgent of the 10. Do not throw a bag of problems at your team or your other leaders, because you're not setting them up to be successful. You work on those top 3, and then you move down that list and move down that list and move down that list. Allow people to get acclimated to the changes. And lastly, observation and assess your progress. Remember, you are not the only one learning. Your team must have time to adjust also to the new leadership style. It's important. I'm going to say this over, and I'll say it over and over again. When you're making changes, when you're changing, and when you're developing, understand that that is going to have an impact on the growth and your team. So you want to give them time, keep them in the loop as much as you can give them without compromising any integrity of your business, but keep them informed on what's next. Keep them informed. Okay, Jazz, before we go to the last slide, any other questions? And then we're going to close this out, y'all. We got 2 slides left.
Questions right now?
No questions. All right, so let's go to the next slide. Oh, I forgot. You know what? We got us a giveaway. So we've already given away 2 Unlocking Prosperity books. The next giveaway is I have a 5-week self-guided course titled Elevate Your Impact. And this course takes you through a number of different topics. The 5-week course, the first week is employee relations and leading through results. The second week is a leadership mindset shift. Week 3 is effective coaching. Week 4 is conflict resolution. And week 5 is performance management and progressive disciplinary action. And that also comes with an assessment at the end. So this course is something that's new. We wanted to be able to create some different options for our client base. And I'm getting ready to give away 2 of those self-guided courses at no cost to you guys. This is a value of $111, but today you're going to get it for free. So here are the next 2 questions. All right. Might get a little bit more difficult this time. Avoid blank without prior coaching for performance or behavioral issues. Doing so could potentially put you at risk of facing state employment claims.
Like Renee was the first one, termination.
Renee was the first, and Cicely was second. All right, so Renee, you actually already won once, so I didn't mention that at the top, but I'm going to make sure that you and Cicely get a copy of that course at no cost. So I'll be sure to get over to Jasmine your email addresses so I can send you guys that. All right. Great job, ladies. Thank y'all. All right, question number 2. All right. Question number 2, recognize that as a leader, blank isn't the expectation for yourself or for your team. What is that? Who's first, Jazz? So Renee, okay, you just won, Renee, so we can't give it to you again. Candace is second. All right, Candace, you get okay, Candace, yeah. So you get a free course of Elevate Your Impact at no cost. So great job. It is perfection. Perfection is not the wave, and it's not the expectation for you or your team. Give yourself grace, give you grace, give your team grace as you go through the process. So that means we had 3 winners for the course. That's Cicely, Renee, and Candace. All right, great job, ladies. Way to lock in. All right, 2 more testimonials, and then we're gonna get to it. So this one is from Jeremy. I've known Ms. Jones for 8 years, which she has been a personal friend of mine and feedback for my professional development. Ms. Jones' best qualities is focused on personal and natural abilities to adapt to her audience. Ms. Jones is willing to work with others to drive business results. It's all about the results, y'all. When you know the results, you can then lead your people in the right direction. And the second testimonial comes from Chef Tish. Working with Jamie on a project is truly worth it for the team members and leaders alike. Her unique approach to cultivating workplace relationships is both inspiring and highly effective. If you have an opportunity to hone in on your skills as a leader and communicator, then I suggest you do yourself a favor and dive in with Jamie. Thank you, Chef Tish. All right, Jazz. Any questions before we get to these last 2 slides? Because we about to bring it home. We filled up this hour and a half. Yes.
No questions, just a lot of positive feedback. So I'll let you keep going and you can check that out. But Renee said that she has absorbed so much from this.
Outstanding. That's exactly what I wanted. Mission accomplished. All right. So if you guys have been paying attention, Jasmine has been here supporting me. So I wanted you all to know exactly who she is. Jasmine is the owner and operator of the Golden Group Administrative Agency. Jasmine has been working with me pretty much since the inception of Path to Peace, and she was very pivotal at the beginning because I was still working my corporate job, so I didn't have a lot of time. So I started Path to Peace in November of 2021. I went live, started accepting clients in April of 22, and Jasmine was there to help pick up the pieces in May, and she has been instrumental in the production of Path to Peace since then. These are all of the things she does. But Jasmine, if there's anything here that you want to add to let people know where they can find you and use your services, here's your time.
Oh, you can find me at thegoldengroupco.com and just set up a call. And that's pretty much it.
All right. Thank you, Jasmine. I really appreciate you. All right, y'all. We about to bring this thing home, and we're gonna do it in 7 minutes. I promise. I'm gonna stop talking so much. All right. So I've been telling y'all that I'm really coming in heavy with leadership. This is an area that I am so passionate about. A lot of my career growth has been in leadership development, and I have 3 products here that I want to talk to you guys about. So the culture curator, the workshops that I do are sort of packaged under the culture curator. So the culture curator, I can actually come into your business and I can do that facelift for you. So I can conduct those, the round tables for mindset shifting, effective communication. I do all of the observations. I do the surveys, the behavioral assessments. I do the anonymous surveys. I do the whole gambit for you in 90 days. And it's a hands-off approach. You can just let me run the show for you. But in that time, I'm inspiring your leaders. I'm teaching them how to be more effective leaders. I sit in on their meetings. I sit in on their one-on-ones. I sit in with the executives and see how their relationships go. I mediate conversations. Anything that falls under the culture umbrella, I do that within that 90-day window. And you see extreme transformation. One of my clients, I maybe had been there 3 weeks, and when I got there the next week, he was like, I don't know what you're doing. He said, but the staff is different. Trust and believe. I take this very personal. I'm very passionate about it. And if you or anyone that you actually know could benefit from these services, you guys are going to get an email with all of these services in them right now. So normally the culture curator is packaged at $3,500 a month over a 90-day window. But I'm taking off $1,500 for that for you guys just spending an hour and a half with me now. And that monthly rate drops down to $3,000 a month over the next 3 months. So if you are not a business owner or an executive, but you know one that could benefit from having me come in and shake things up, y'all forward this email to them, because that email is coming to you very soon. If you don't have it now, you're going to have it within the next 5 minutes. And that's that culture curator package. And that's a full package, but keep in mind, I do individual, virtual, and in-person workshops, and those workshops start at $300. And I can pretty much customize a package to meet whatever the needs is for that company. All right. The second phase is, if you don't want me to come in and shake it up for you, then you can shake it up for yourself. And that's what this 5-week course that I just talked to you guys about. I'm really excited about this. The 5-week course you can do over an 11-week span. So yes, it's a 5-week course, but you have access to it for 11 weeks. And it's important that you have access to it for 11 weeks, simply because the things that you're going to be changing and adjusting, it comes with activities after each topic. And you have to go back and implement these things with your team. So the behavioral analysis, the anonymous surveys, roundtables with your team, executing on the other different tasks that I have listed. You don't want to do all of that and rush that in within that 5-week period. You want to give yourself time to learn and adapt, and then introduce these topics to your team. So you have the 5-week course, but you have access to it for 11 weeks so that you can pace yourself. This is self-guided. This is based off of my workshops. So I just told you those workshops start at $300 each. So that's at a value of $1,200. So I'm giving you guys a big savings at $1,089. The course is going to retail for $111, but I got something special because you guys have been spending time with me for the next 2 days. So this, I'm going to give you guys a coupon code. It's going to be in your email. So the coupon expires on January the 13th at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but you can walk away with this 5-week course for $77. Trust me, it's worth it. It's a huge value. And anyone that purchases this course, you'll get a follow-up email from me that you get 30 minutes to work with me at no cost. It is not an upsell, but we'll just talk about, after you finish the course, how you were able to benefit from it, things that changed within your team. I just want to hear from you and know how things worked out. So you get this course, but then you also get 30 minutes with me at no cost, and it's not going to be an upsell. I'm not going to try to sell you an additional product. I just really want to know how this one worked out for you. And last but not least, unlocking prosperity. Come on now. The 7 essential strategies for thriving workplace relationships. The paperback is available on Amazon right now for $7.77. Or you can download the ebook on Gumroad for $3.33. It's lights out. It's one of the most things I'm most proud of. I'm so thankful that I was able to provide this book, because it has a lot of personal experiences and really spoke to my transformation as a leader. There's no code on this one because it's priced under $8. But go out there. I have something for everybody. And remember, if you're not a business owner, a leader, or an executive, and you know somebody that could benefit, get this, forward that email to them in the next 48 hours. Allow them to take advantage of this huge savings. In order to take advantage of the culture curator, you just need to book your free consultation within the next 48 hours. You can post it out. We can meet 2 weeks from now if that's better, but you just need to book it in order to take advantage of that $3,000 monthly. And, from there, we can talk about what it looks like for us to begin working together. So any questions, y'all? I done gave y'all my whole heart tonight. Any questions, any comments? Feel free to come off of mute if you choose to. And I just hope that you walked away feeling inspired and empowered, y'all. That's all I ask. Inspire and empower. Oh, you asked me if I do DEI training for coaching. Yes, I do. I have a diversity, equity, and inclusion program that is hosted as a workshop. I'm DEI certified. That workshop is not a part of the $300 package. It's a little bit more, and that's because the value is so significant, and it's a 2-part workshop. So it's not just an hour and a half, it's a 3-hour breakdown on DEI. All right, y'all. Questions, comments, concerns. I see the green hearts. I feel the love. I'm so thankful y'all spent some time with me. And guess what? Your girl ended on time. It is 8:30 sharp. If no one has any questions, anything that you have to say, I just want to say I'm truly grateful. I'm very thankful of the time that y'all spent here tonight. Keep in mind your emails are on the way with your coupon codes, with your links for scheduling consultations, downloading books, buying books, any and everything that Path to Peace has to offer, you're going to get it. So if you have any questions and you can't get to it now, hit me on the DM, messages on LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, however you want to get to me, you can get to me. The email also has my phone number, so shoot me the text. Let's just go ahead and stay connected. Peace and God bless y'all. Have an amazing night.